Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of the program, The Platform. On this program we examine national and international issues. Over the last several months we heard a lot about Clifton. There have been many persons who got involved in a discussion on saving Clifton. There were coalitions formed on Clifton. And on this program, we had Peter Nygard on to talk about it, and we had some representatives from both sides talking about it. And then we also talked with Peter Nygard about stem cell research, and we had a roundtable discussion of physicians who are also interested in stem cell research in the Bahamas. And if you listen to the budget communication, you would have heard Prime Minister Christie talking about stem cell research being necessary to promote tourism in the Bahamas. And so on this program today, it's a kind of double-header program where I'm going to talk again about what is happening at Clifton, because some information came out that the public should know about, and we're going to talk again about stem cell research. And so one of the personalities involved in the row dealing with Clifton is Peter Nygard, and I've invited him back here today to talk about it. Peter Nygard, nice to have you here.
Nice to be back here.
And as I said, over the last several weeks, we heard a whole lot about what is happening at Clifton. And over the last holiday, people went there to enjoy the beach. But I saw a clipping where you donated some $250,000 to develop the beach or to assist in cleaning up Jaws Beach. Why did you do it?
Well, fundamentally, I love this whole campaign about saving Clifton. I've been doing this kind of campaign myself now as long as whenever first I came here. And in fact, Stuart Cove and I had Ocean Watch, and already back in 30 years ago or so, we were trying to save Clifton, so to speak, and Clifton included Golden Key. So I've been one of the biggest troopers in terms of waving my flag and trying to save these beautiful waters of Bahamas, and I'm the biggest environmentalist we probably have here. Now, as far as cleaning it up is concerned, I donate $250,000 for specific jobs. And I think that's significant because there's a lot of talk, and then there's no action. And I said, I want to put some action in here. We got some specific projects going on. We went out to Clifton Beach. It was a mess, and we cleaned it up. There's a whole pile of wonderful women out there cleaning away in their own time in here, and they're trying to restore that place. Besides that, we took and went into our own place, Nygard Key, and we set up coral-producing farms, nurseries. And there we have nurseries where we build corals, and then we go replant them into those areas that now have died in the last 14 years. So mangroves, we built mangroves into Nygard Key, and so we got the fish coming in here to spawn. So we really, I think that the real difference is that we took the money and actually did something with it.
Yeah, and I just wonder whether or not you did what you did, reacting to the coalition to save Clifton Bay. You've been having an ongoing row with Louis Bacon for a little while.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years, yeah.
And for those people who are watching and listening to us today who do not know what this row is about, I give you a minute or so to set it up and tell them what it's all about.
I never even knew I had a row until one day I had this terrible campaign against me, and it was really, I'll tell you where it started. A long time ago, Louis Bacon and I were friends, and we were pretty good friends.
You were friends?
We were friends. He first came to Bahamas. I opened up the doors to him. I welcomed to Nygard Key. I let him use the tennis courts and the volleyball courts and everything. I let his guests come and view it over there, and it was like a paradise for him. And then we had exchange of almost each other's keys, so my guest could stay at his place and his guest would stay at my place. Now, you would never believe that. And his key guy, Dan Tuckfield, was his point man. He was probably manager. And he was also welcome to come and go. Trouble with him was that he was ended up being a drug addict and an alcohol. And he would come at nighttime, drunk as anything, and he'd be out there making all kinds of noises, or then secretly hiding away. It became a peeping Tom. You know, we have all glass places. And also we got these stranger water in there. And then he just got very abusive with some of the very big celebrity stars that I don't even want to say who they were. They were so upset, you know. And he got very physical with them sexually. And we had to ban him. And man, did we build an enemy out of him. And you know, you see Nygard Key, you see barbed wire, razor wire all the way, separating me from Louis Bacon. It's just only one reason, is not to let Dan Tuckfield or anybody else come on his property at night. So we were trying to get security from my next door neighbor. Unfortunately, he dragged, I think, his boss Louis back into the picture, you see. And then all of a sudden we had these very secretive campaigns that are occurring, you know, they tried to cut me out of there. Interestingly, I got an offer from an agent to buy Nygard Key for $100 million. And I laughed at it, as I should, because I said, what am I going to do with the money? I said, it's a nice generous offer, perhaps even more generous than it should be, but I have nothing to do. I love this place, I want to build this place, this is my home, I'm a Bahamian, you know, this is where I set my roots, so no thank you. And the guy said the thing that always echoes in my ears right now, he said, better sell it because he'll get it some other way. I said, what do you mean get it some other way? After a while, I knew who had put the offer in, and the other way is that campaign to get me out of there. Oh my God! And I'd be very quiet about it because I sort of took another cheek, you know, and they really not talk very much about it. But the kinds of things that was going on, it was unbelievable. Yeah, he'd tear down the whole road and cut off my access to my telephone service, everything, and then he'd build over my easement his building.
In order to get to Nygard Key, you have to come through Bacon's property.
Easement on his property. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and that was a legal easement. In fact, that's my road. Meanwhile, he altered it, built it over it, in the hope that I wouldn't discover that he had built over it. And if I didn't object to it over a certain period of time, as you know, it's like squatters' right, I would lose it. In fact, that's the court case that's going on right now, is that they're claiming that you didn't object to it long time enough, now don't object. Now you have, in effect, given it away. What are you talking about giving it away? Of course you don't give it away. So what he did with the other road that he provided me, he put a gate there. He put up signs there. Do not trespass. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I don't know if he had a shot that the trespasser will be shot. Perhaps he did. He put speed bumps in here. It would ruin our cars. Between the gate and his, he had 6 speed bumps. Nothing, there's no reason to have speed bump except to try to make it ordinary for me. He built his road and built it in such a way that all the water would pool in front of my gate. And there was an eternal lake there. I didn't want a lake at that particular spot. And it was breeding mosquitoes. And then we couldn't get to my gate. So you know what he did? I said, please give me one of these places you can buzz on it before I go to the gate so I can talk to a speaker. Right? No, can't do it. We had to go through the water and press the door. And everybody who come and visit me, I had to put rubber boots on. Because if they honked their horn, he'd call the police for disturbing the peace. These little annoyances, and he had cameras. By the way, if anybody goes to Nygard Key, you've got about 6 or 8 cameras there. He knows every single person who comes in here, and he reports it out, their face, their picture, everything else. This is the biggest invasion of privacy I've ever seen in my life.
So you felt victimized?
Victimized. I've been victimized to feel very uncomfortable to be there, and my guests were made very uncomfortable to be there. He'd have his guy go around taking pictures of on the beaches, all around and down here, and if pictures are coming from his house, infrared, we can see the cameras, infrared cameras coming through. Victimized, my goodness, great. Yeah. And but the big story about him was his speakers. He put big sound speakers in it that can actually kill you, and he put 4 of them along the wall, and they were massive speakers. And then he'd play those, and he had the violin screeching, the kind of thing that we're doing. And every time we'd have a party, he'd put these speakers on, you know. Then finally, we had a beautiful event over there to honor those Olympic athletes, and actually just Morse Island, where those young boys were, you know, and it was something I was honoring them and giving them money, etc. And he put those things on to annoy it. And the pastor, God bless his soul, he was also the coach. He got very annoyed. And he's the one who went to complain to the police, and that's caused him police to come in and take those down, you know. And Bacon was so amazed and so hurt.
So this whole thing about the coalition to save Clifton Bay, you suggest that it is really aimed at you.
Oh yes, it's one more cover-up. You know, here he gathers all these well-meaning people who actually want to save it, as I do. And he calls them in to join his coalition. Then what he does is hires Fred Smith and C.B. Moss to become the mouthpiece to attack Nygard, as if Nygard Key ruined Clifton. Nygard Key is as clean as Nygard Key is the cleanest place in the world. You know who actually dug up Clifton? You know, him. He dug about 300-foot marina beside me illegally without a permit, and then he goes around talking about as if I did. Oh my God! I said, please, you know. Yeah. And then I should go ahead and try to defend myself on that nonsense. No, it is a disguise, unfortunately, and he's hijacking these well-meaning people. A lot of them phone me up and says, Peter, I'm very upset with the fact that Bacon is using this as an attack and continue on your personal fight. Yeah. So I think what they did is, I think they changed the name of it because of that as well, because these people didn't want to be associated with it.
You took a public relations kind of a defensive, and I believe that you developed a video of Bacon and Robert Kennedy and the rest of them.
You know that what he had the gall to clean up his own image. Now he was going to. This is the first time he went public, and he had to clean up his own image to sort of parallel mine, because I have a pretty damn good reputation, you know, in the Bahamas, and he doesn't. And he went to clean it, so he went ahead and developed this whole series of lies to get Audubon Society award. And this is what this video is all about. It really shows Bacon at his worst. He outright lied to get this award every single point. And here's the punchline of it. He says that he saved Clifton, saved the coral reefs, saved it for Bahamian people, you know, did all this. And now he organized everybody, what, to save it again?
Okay. Let's take a look at that, though. Let's, if our producer can just play the video so that we can respond to it.
Thank you, Audubon. Thank you so much. And I've been asking myself ever since I was told I was to receive this award, which was, why me? I reached for the Holy Book for answers. Now, as a Southerner, you have to realize when I say the Holy Book, of course, I mean Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind, the most racist and the most slave uplifting book or literature that has ever been written or made in our history.
Lewis really single-handedly decided to stand up and save that beach on behalf of the Bahamian public.
That was indeed a grassroots movement.
And save that beach on behalf of the Bahamian public. It was going to be a high-intensity development that would shut off the beach from the thousands, tens of thousands of people, of native Bahamians who use that beach. It would have also destroyed probably one of the best known coral reefs in the world. Protected forever on behalf of the people of the Bahamas, but also the birds and the wildlife.
This is the pathway that our ancestors took into slavery that led into freedom.
So this is sacred soil, no question about that.
We will not surrender our history to that man called Louis Bacon.
I have made it very clear that I believe Mr. Bacon is a liar because I was there during the fight 14 years ago and he was not there. He certainly did not lead me.
If you go to the Bahamian Historical Society, you do not see anything about Clifton. How can you talk about a historical society and you have nothing about what black Bahamians did in this country? I want the Historical Society to tell his story. His story.
Louis Bacon, and if you're watching, listening, or don't know me, you are a liar. Nothing that you said was the truth about your being the leader. Why would he want to go to the Audubon after I went to UNESCO and got it recognized as a World Heritage Site?
Louis recently acquired Orton Plantation in his native North Carolina. Built by his forebear, Roger Moore, in 1725.
So he spoke to his ancestry. We're speaking to ours.
Louis Bacon, you are a liar.
Mr. Bacon is a liar.
When I say the Holy Book, of course, I mean Gone with the Wind.
And you certainly will be gone with the wind.
We begin tonight with one of the biggest Wall Street insider trading cases ever. At a time when many Americans were losing their 401ks, prosecutors say was leaking secret corporate information to a hedge fund tycoon so that that tycoon's fund wouldn't suffer the same fate. It was in a perfect position to do that inside the boardrooms of some of the country's biggest corporations. The result, prosecutors say, was that the hedge fund made millions while ordinary Americans got soaked.
A rare look inside the secret world of the KKK. And it may surprise you who's among their ranks.
I would like to take a minute to thank them for what they do brilliantly every day in fulfilling their mission.
My eyes have seen the glory of the trampling at the zoo. We've washed ourselves in blood and all the mongrels too. We're taking down the Zog machine, Jew by Jew by Jew. The white man marches on.
For those of you who think burning crosses and hooded rallies are relics of the civil rights era, think again.
Lewis recently acquired Orton Plantation in his native North Carolina. Built by his forebear, Roger Moore, in 1725.
I reached for the Holy Book for answers. Now, as a Southerner, you have to realize when I say the Holy Book, of course, I mean Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind, the most racist and the most slave uplifting book or literature that has ever been written or made in our history.
To get to the heart of it, we headed south to meet the Grand Dragon. They are known as the Invisible Empire for a reason. They thrive in secrecy, almost never permitting outsiders access. It's impossible not to think of what once happened here.
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land.
Peter Nygard, that was quite a tape that was produced there. Some people will call it incendiary. It is demonizing Louis Bacon. How do you respond to that?
I think it's a visual illustration of what the man could be and what the man is. I think he went around and got a word, a highest word you can give, under very, very false pretenses. I think he organized way back 14 years ago behind the scenes, taking over of Clifton, used the good people of Bahamas to do it in the name of restoring that historic slave site. And then, as soon as he got a hold of it behind the scenes, he just shred everybody off. And Vivian Wylie will tell you he was in the middle of that, shredded off, and then didn't do one single thing about restoring that slave site. And you know, that even hurts me as a Bahamian, you know. And that the fact that he just left that whole piece of property in the ruins. Then he has the nerve to go ahead and start gathering up everybody to presumably save Clifton, when he just got a word for having saved Clifton on his own admission. It was under his watch that Clifton got ruined. It was under his watch that this whole slave site hasn't done a thing. Every other society has proudly restored their history books, except Bahamians. I didn't even know that that site existed over there, you know, and it's been held back. What did he want to restore? His own ancestry site in the Carolinas.
And so when they gave him an award, ostensibly for saving Clifton, that was offensive to you?
That was offensive to me, that's right. Because you know what? That illustrated the man which he's been doing to me all along. He's been a fake, you know. And what I wanted to do is hold him accountable for some of this stuff. You know, listen, Louis Bacon, if you want to really save Clifton, you know, I'll join that with money for money with you, and we'll go together and really save all those oil barges and save all that damage that's occurring over it. Don't you dare to start putting that as if Nygard Key's got anything to do with causing that damage. You look in the mirror yourself. I'm just giving him a message. And I'll tell you, even more importantly, why don't we join together if you really don't represent what that tape shows, you know, the KKK heritage, why don't we join together and put that heritage site together for these Bahamian people? Put their history together. I'll join dollar for dollar on you, and we'll build a beautiful momentum site in there. Because if this was a Jewish cause, everybody would remember the Holocaust. Everybody would be, and it's even in Germany. And this now happens to be really a big legacy of Bahamas, you know, and it's just sitting right there on there. And we have nothing there. You know, it's insulting what is over there. It's a shut down place that's all polluted. I don't like any of that. You know, and Louis the Bacon have a difference. I happen to love the Bahamian people. I love the Bahamian black people, you know. I don't know if he does, but I know his heritage is different than that, you know. And I don't know whether he's actually after me, because I do have this love affair with Bahamian people, and I invite them to come to my place. But if he does love the Bahamian people, let's really spend our money correctly, because he spent millions of dollars coming after me this last year, millions. I had to even spend some money myself. I think it's so wasted. Let's put it to a good cause. Let's put it to a good cause. Let's help these Bahamian people, you know. Let's help this environment together instead of wasting this money like this, fighting between us. You know, even the black people are laughing at us, you know, as white folk, you know, as how stupid we can be, just throw this money out the window like this. Let's not be stupid about it, Louis.
So you send out a challenge now?
I send out a challenge now, right now. Yeah, again, our challenge. I'll join hands together, you know, and let's put bygones be bygones, and let's do something together for the Bahamian people. Let's restore that slave site together. Let's really do something meaningful about that environment instead of going through this pretense.
Well, there you have it. What a challenge. That is a fantastic challenge.
Yeah, it is.
And let's see if Louis Bacon will take you up on that challenge. And those people who are supporting his cause.
Those people who are supporting his cause, that's right. Yeah. And I'll welcome Louis to come here and talk to you and I together on here about this whole issue. Love it. You know.
Okay. Well, Peter Nygard, we have to take a break here. And we know that you have been doing a whole lot as a fantastic corporate citizen in the Bahamas. You've helped a lot of causes. I remember when the team was going to the Olympics in 2000, you gave out a challenge and you matched every dollar. And you've been supporting sports in the Bahamas and many other causes for a very long time. But let's take this break here on the program. Peter Nygard, a fashion mogul in the world, he is our guest on the program. We'll come right back. Back here on the platform this evening, speaking with Peter Nygard, who is a substantive and substantial investor in the Bahamas at Nygard Key, and as I said previously, a very good corporate citizen and someone who has been a benefactor to many, many causes in the Bahamas. Peter Nygard, you said a while ago that you're somewhat embarrassed that you two white billionaires are fighting over this little thing at Life at Key. And what you really want is for Louis Bacon to leave you alone so that you can develop Nygard Key. You had a fire some time ago.
Yeah.
You want to do certain things at Nygard Key.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Nygard Key was being a place where I've vented my creative juices. You know, it's been described as one of the 8th wonders of the world by many people. You know, it's interesting, Bahamian airplane pilots say, look to your right, ladies and gentlemen, you see Nygard Key, the 8th wonder of the world. It has tremendous reputation all over the world. It's world famous as much as Atlantis is, you know, and people who used to go to Atlantis used to always come to Nygard Key. You just have to see this place. You know. It's a place where Life at Key community was bringing all their special VIP guests. President Bush came over there, their royalty, for Queen Elizabeth's royalty came near Sarah Ferguson. We got a list of everybody in there. And it's been a kind of proud asset all the time of Bahamas. And it's also been a place where I invited the Bahamians to come in and enjoy it. So I sort of shared it with the Bahamian people. And it was so sad, whatever the cause of the fire was, that my lifelong dream and my lifelong work was all went up in smoke. You know, and I had no idea how hurting that was. But, you know, I get off the ground again and rebuild it, you know, and make it even more spectacular than ever. And that's, of course, what I want to do. Wait, it's been 3 years ago or 4 years ago when it burned down. And under the other government, I was not allowed to go ahead and rebuild it. Amazingly, you know, and I was ready to spend, you know, I think it's going to cost about $50 million at least to spend, and it's going to put 200, 300 people to work. And wasn't allowed to do it, you know. And now I want to do that. I'm ready to invest lots of money to make it beautiful, even more beautiful than before, and become that proud asset for the Bahamian people. You know? So it's a very noble cause, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so you have certain forces that are standing in the way.
Well, Mr. Bacon is standing in the way. You know, I have no idea what his problem is. I don't know if it's one of jealousy. It doesn't affect his property at all. I let him build his illegal marinas and everything else, you know, and live and let live is my part. And it continues on his campaign to try to put a stop to it, you know. And, you know, this has been going forever. And his latest campaign, he said, I just want him to leave me alone and let me build. This has done no harm whatsoever to anybody there, only good, even to Life at Sea community, to the Bahamian people, to Bahamas in general, everybody. I want to spend the money. I want to go ahead and get back and enjoy my place. You know, it hasn't been so enjoyable for me to come over here. You know, it's made it very miserable, you know, and I want to enjoy it again. I embraced this country. I took it as my home. I became a Bahamian citizen. He hasn't. You know, I have, you know, this is my country. I talk as a Bahamian all the time, and I want to be able to be proud of my country, be proud to invite people over here and generate this business and make a contribution to Bahamas. And it starts with Nygard Key.
Enough said about Nygard Key, because I believe that you have made a case and you've thrown out a challenge to Louis Bacon and his group, and let's see if Louis Bacon is going to respond, because I believe that you've been very genuine in your offer. But in addition to working to restore Nygard Key, you have been very instrumental in seeking to improve medical tourism in the Bahamas. And one of the projects that I know that you've been working on, both in the Bahamas, China, around the world, is stem cell.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. For the last 3 years, I think the last time we were in a program, we talked about it. You know, just as a reminder, you know, I had the picture. You know, this picture, you know, that I showed you before.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's sort of symbolic, visual symbolic of this whole world of stem cells. Really, this whole world of preventive medicine, to taking care of your health, to get ahead of your potential diseases. And this is a perfect example of me personally being a before picture.
Yes, let's,
I don't know if we can
let's see if we can pull this up on a shot here.
It's sort of a reminder. It's sort of a reminder back, you know, and here you can see me about 3 years ago, and this was a picture of an old man.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and then I took all this action, which is eating right and right supplements and hormonal balance and stem cells, and here comes the young man, you know, and here comes a face young man and muscles, etc. And it's really proof positive that the work project that I've been on, preventive medicine and this whole world of stem cells, is really working. I'm using my own body as the best example of it. And it's a very, very famous photo now of before and after. It's not only is it about physical appearance, but internally as well. You know, my diabetes concern has dropped, my cholesterol, which was dangerous, my bad was over my good, it reversed, you know, testosterone going up, estrogen going down, and all the important signs in your body, you know, to keep you healthy. You know.
So you've been using your own cell, your own stem cell, to regenerate. What have you been doing?
Not only my own. I've been using all kinds of them. I've been from world on in, I've been using, I've been going to Russia to get the stem cells from there because they've been a leader in the world on, and they happen to be dealing with a very high level embryonic type of stem cell. I've been using umbilical cord, which is a big issue for China. I've been using, placenta stem cells, which is very, very powerful. I've been using the stem cell cord blood, to do for my brain and my own, taking out of my own, and then taking it, out and then storing and putting in what you call SVF back in, which is sort of super cells, and then storing my mesenchymal stem cells, which is sort of one of your most powerful stem cells you have, and then going back for therapy 4 times a year and expanding those. See, the issue has been that we don't have enough stem cells, and what we now have found in the world is that we can take them out, expand them from 100 million to 1 billion and put them back in and keep restoring our stem cells, even our own, but even more importantly, new young ones, So this whole world of stem cells is so explosive. And I made a point all the way back from there. And I'll tell you when I made the point. When I saw my mom dying, I loved her so very much, and I had lots of money, and I spent so much money trying to keep her alive. If I would have got hold of the stem cell information earlier, a year earlier, she probably still would be alive because it would have saved her life. And I just lost her. And I looked in the mirror and I said, listen, you're next. And you know what the key punchline was? Late will kill you. If you act too late, like in the case with her was too late, it'll kill you. So get on with this thing early. And then I made a point of getting on with it early. And I made a point of learning everything about it all through the world. And I want to be the #1 person who knew this. And now I am. And it's not because I'm the brightest guy in the world. It's just that I have made a mission of learning about this and traveled all over the world. I must have spent $5 million just getting on this search for my better health and preventive medicine. And in that regard, I told you last time about the most important part of this all was the SCNT. I think we have a tape on it, that talked about the fact, this issue of actually taking your own stem cells, putting your own DNA into the egg of a woman, out of her body, not inside her body, out of a woman, and then putting your own DNA in it and having that grow into stem cell lines. And I said that time, I said, if you ever break through that, and I think you will, there'll be the biggest discovery in the history of this world. Guess what? We broke through it.
Good. We've broken through. And so if we can show that tape now.
I need to share this with you and the audience. It's called SCNT. It's the highest end of stem cell science. SCNT, somatic cell nucleus transfer. We take actually the egg out of the woman before it's fertilized, and from the egg take out the nucleus, her DNA, and we put my DNA into it, in test tube. Now we grow that in test tube, and we start growing that out of test tube now. That's actually my body parts now growing. And once that turns into stem cells, if we ever break through the barrier where that is now growing, if it breaks into stem cells, it'll be the biggest discovery in the history of the world. The Nobel Prize for I have 4 scientists working on this, on my DNA. That is a way of regrowing your own body. Now you start needing new heart, or you start inserting some of the stem cells back into, and you regrow within your own body your new body parts.
The technique isn't new, the results are. Microscopic genetic material was taken from an adult cell. It was then inserted into an egg whose own DNA had been stripped out. This creates human embryonic stem cells, which are capable of becoming any of the more than 200 types of cells that make up a person. That's important because those cells could be used to treat devastating conditions such as multiple sclerosis, spinal cord injuries, heart disease, or even Parkinson's.
Most of patients don't have the ability to regenerate these tissues, for example, if it's been damaged during disease. Fortunately, now we have a technique where we could take any other cell, in this case, of course, skin cell, and turn them into early embryonic. And now these embryonic cells, they're grown in a petri dish. Now they can produce these heart cells or neurons that this patient needs.
Since the same technique produced Dolly the cloned sheep in 1996, scientists have been trying to create human stem cells. One Korean scientist claimed success in 2005, but this was a lie in one of the most notorious cases of scientific fraud in the last 10 years. The same team behind this latest breakthrough managed to clone monkeys with this technique back in 2007, a significant step. Embryonic stem cell research has repeatedly raised ethical concerns.
What it does is it literally opens the door to in vitro fertilization labs using these principles to make clones for people that might want to have a clone.
The technique used in Oregon is called somatic cell nuclear transfer. What the team in Oregon has done is take an adult skin cell and inserted it into a human egg stripped of its existing DNA. The unfertilized eggs are stimulated by electric pulses, and that starts them dividing. Scientists say the results from Oregon are hugely significant, a major step forward in the field and in the fight against some terrible diseases. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's continue our discussion then, Peter Nygard, on stem cells.
I want you to know that's a historic moment.
Yes.
I want you to know that I'm the first one here, when you're in your presence, to announce this. You know, we got to mark this down in history. This is big. This is huge, huge, huge. I can't overemphasize how big it is. So I just don't want this to go by insignificantly.
Yes. And where was all of this done?
I had hired, and I was the only one in the world that had stayed true to SCNT. I just want to tell you about SCNT. You know, SCNT started long time ago, you know, and they've been working on it for 20 years. In 2000, and I think you showed there on a tape, in 2005, I believe, the Koreans faked it, and they said, we have discovered it. It was one of the biggest fakes that ever occurred in medical history. Everybody got off it. And at that moment came an IPC, induced pluripotent cells. And that was doing the same thing. It was taking old skin and going back to embryo. And everybody had put hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and SCNT put on a sideline. But still, everybody's position was that actually if SCNT would work, it'd actually be better than IPC. And then I took up the flag, you know, the SCNT flag, you know, because everybody's doing IPC anyway. And then I hired 4 doctors, and 2 in China and 2 in the United States, and gave them my DNA. They have my DNA, and they were doing it and doing it and doing it. And I talked about it last September even. The guy who discovered it is now, who broke through it was Dr. Zakharov, who in Oregon, and he's on our tapes. And his contract, we have an exclusive license here, you know, term sheet. So I have the license now to practice this stem cell therapy throughout the world.
Stem cell therapy throughout the world.
No, so it's the issue of discovering the way of producing our own young stem cells. Then what we do with it, how we actually make it into a patient-specific clinical practice, if we take it out of you, and then how we take it from you, but how we then use it to cure some of the problems that you are having now and will have in the future, right? That's the biggie here. And now we have a capability, and I'm going to China right now to work with the Chinese people on this process, and we're going to get this into work. In fact, I'm leaving tonight, actually, to go on my way to China. So I just want to catch a show over here before to give you the good news. You know.
Very good, very good. And this week, our own Prime Minister announced in the House of Assembly that his government is pushing for legislation for stem cell research to improve medical tourism in the Bahamas. What will that mean, in your opinion, for the Bahamas?
I think the Prime Minister is so wise and so visionary to be able to do this. I think what he's done now is he's set up the only country in the world who really has put a law together in this area. And you know what the law really is about? The law is really about to keep all of the snake oil guys out. That now you have a law, and it's going to empower certain people to practice this, and you just can't come in and do it as you see place. And he's really legitimized it and made it a safe place to practice stem cells. And that's important, because everybody's practicing it all over the place in a gray, you know, and there's a lot of dangers, and the whole world of stem cells gets a lot of black eyes because there's a lot of fakes out there, as you can appreciate, you know.
And there's some ethical considerations.
Of course, ethical considerations, safety considerations, but now that you have law, it's like a little bit like law of casinos, for example. You know, you can have a casino, but then nobody else can, you know. You legislate it. Everything is for the public interest has to have a proper regulatory law. Nobody's been able to keep up with the laws of the stem cell world because the laws usually are later. Prime Minister doing this is going to go down, perhaps it's going to be a legacy for him. You know, Bahamas will stand up proud over there as one of the countries, if not the only country, who has really taken a hold of this law. And I think a lot of people are going to model themselves after Bahamas.
Yes, this seems to have the support of a great number of the physicians in the Bahamas, and also the support of many religious leaders in this country as well, because you're not doing embryonic stem cell research. So explain to our public, under the legislation that is proposed by the government, what exactly can happen in the Bahamas.
Well, I think the way what I see of the law, and I haven't had a chance to look at all details of it at all, but I think the Prime Minister's law has sort of made it very clear as to what areas and how high and how far he's gone into this research. And really, I think he stayed away carefully into an area that none of us really want in the world, you know, into this world called human being cloning. We don't want to take your stem cells and make another Jones as much as it would be a wonderful specimen. And this is against the law in the world, yes. And Bahamas is also going to consider against the law. The other issue is to destroy the human embryo, you know, the essence of what really the particular Christian faith practices life. You know, nobody wants to deal with that, and I don't think this law does at all. But that should never stop the science of building a autologous stem cell world for yourself to be able to renew our own body. You know, and if the science is there, we should not ever restrict that. And I think this part of the law does allow that, you know. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of confusion in this kind of world where it is and it is not, you know. And I think Bahamian people need to be really educated on the fact that, you know, we don't want to put handcuffs on this thing now for the wrong reasons, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think this law is going to clarify all that, you know, be a very clean line between the undesirable aspects of this discovery, and has clearly put a line in there. We are not going to allow cloning of human beings, as far as I understand this law, and we're not going to allow the embryo, the human being embryo, to be destroyed in any way, you know, and get involved with that field. And it doesn't need to be. You
are heavily invested in stem cell research. I've spoken to other people who work with Nygard Biotech.
Yes.
So have you set up a particular company to research or to be involved in this research?
Yes. Yeah, we have Nygard Biotech. We've had it for the last 3 years that's been used as a part of a Nygard division to be the medical part. In Orient, it's called stem cell genetics, where we combined really the stem cells with gene therapy, you know, and so that's the Hong Kong company. So I have both of those two entities, and I must get this part in because it's very important for us to go to the next step and a half. And why I use the word genetics, you know, and genome, is that we're now tied in, and I'm going down and sign a final deal with a company called BGI in China, which is one of the biggest health genetics companies in the world. He has, for example, he has 300 machines that cost $500,000 each to keep a storage of all your DNA. Yeah. And he can do DNA mapping. And in fact, the guy is a good friend of mine now. I got him very excited with this whole anti-aging program because they've been around it, you know. But now he said, Peter, thank God, what you're talking about is genius. He and I become partners. So here's a very interesting guy. He built this whole company, 4,000 people. Very impressive, smart as a tack. And he does what I do. He leads by example. He's at 50 years old, this guy climbed Mount Everest. That's a huge achievement. He's 60 years old right now. He says, I don't want to get a day old 60. He said, well, I says, you're right. I don't want to get a day over 70. In fact, I'm going back to where you are, 60. You know? He said, and we had this commonality about, here's the punchline of it. He's so bright about innovation, this new technology, and I presumably am too. We're combining his gene world with my stem cell world now, you know. And what does that mean? So I've taken my DNA mapping. In the DNA mapping, which I'm going to find out now what my weak genes are. And once you find out what your weak genes are, my friend, those are the genes that are going to kill you. And in fact, the information is such that we can tell when you're even going to die from those weak genes. Now, you don't want to find that out unless you can do something about it. This technology, you can go ahead and replace those parts. And can you put these two together, finding out what your weak genes are, and then being able to put your correct stem cells to rebuild those genes? Wow, this is big stuff, man. And this is very visionary. Now, here's a guy who's very visionary, and I'm very visionary, and we're getting together to become extremely visionary. So we're going to go ahead and take this right now to our Chinese business, you know, on this particular trip.
You have been spending a tremendous amount of money on this, Peter Nygard. You are a fashion designer, a fashion model. I went to New York, and I went in the area of Times Square, and I saw this huge billboard with your portrait on it, your name on it. You are big in New York, you are big in Canada. So are you diverting your attention and your resources now to stem cell research?
Not diverting, adding to. You know, I mean, my fashion business is very well alive and expanding, and I spend about 50% of my time on my fashion business, and another 50% on my Nygard biotech business, and about 5% on Louis Bacon. That's, you know, that added 105%.
Yes, yes.
And no, yeah, I'm not only big in New York and in Canada and in Bahamas, but big in China. You know, very big in China, you know, and now, for example, I'm going over there and I'm going to open the Gallery Lafayette is opening at their big store in Indonesia. I'm the celebrity designer going there, and I'm going to be walking there with the Princess of Thailand as my escort on the red carpet, and Ambassador of Canada. You know, it's a big event, you know, and a huge announcements. You know, big #1 designer from Canada is coming down, etc. So in that business, your Italian fashion business, that's just growing. But Nygard Biotech has become a necessity of life. I'm in that business not to make another $1 billion. I'm in there to enjoy the $1 billion that I made, you know, and to stay alive and to get healthy. And really, it is probably going to be my legacy, you know.
This is a contribution to humanity.
A contribution to humanity, you know. And I hate to be one of these guys, you know, like a movie star, I'm going to save the world kind of thing. It has that type of scope, you know. And I started on this path 3 years ago, never realizing that I'd end up here talking to you with these discoveries now 3 years later. And it's just getting bigger every single day. I'm involved with USA's National Institute of Health, you know, the highest level of research, and National Institute of Cancer, and with company, you know, who's $70 billion, who builds, you know, body parts from placenta. I mean, and these people want to seek me out now. Every single day I get phone calls and say, I want to be part of it, I want to be part of it. You know, whether it's from a medical research point of view, whether it's from a medical clinical practice, or then investors, people like myself, who say, where do I sign up? You know, where do I sign up? I want to take those stem cells. So it's very, very exciting, and I'm getting to be very popular. You know,
in the medical fraternity.
In the medical fraternity, yes. And if you're asking fashion versus medical, that medical is starting to become bigger than the fashion, You know why too? Because it touches every one of us. People can live out a skirt, but they can't. When you start talking about medicine and you start talking about your health, it touches everybody, and everybody can relate to it. My story is very compelling. I never sit down with a group of people who I really haven't convinced to change their diet habits, to get on with things. And so they so proudly come back next time I meet them. Peter, I lost 10 pounds.
Yes, yes.
So it's a really, really a great message, Yeah.
Peter, I got to be flat out of time, and I'd like to thank you once again for being here today. And I'm sure you are making the impact in stem cell research as you have made in fashion around the world. And I want to thank you for the wonderful things that you've done for many underprivileged Bahamians, and not only underprivileged Bahamians, but a whole lot of people who have been involved in sports development in our country. Thank you very much.
No, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening to our program today with Mr. Peter Nygard. And I believe that you are better informed now on what is happening at Clifton and what is happening with stem cell research in the world. Good evening, everyone.